everybody, it's Rebecca here at Wine Mermaids, and if you have watched my channel, then you know that I have this deep love for Red Rising, which is a book that I discovered last year, kind of on a whim. It was like a buy two, get one free table at Barnes & Noble, and I picked it up, and the rest is history. Like, I loved it. It's probably the most talked about book on this channel. So, last week, Morningstar, the third book in the trilogy, was released. I finished it and I loved it, and so I have so many thoughts that I decided to just go ahead and do kind of a bunch of videos on Morningstar, but we're gonna start off today with a series review of the Red Rising trilogy. So the Red Rising trilogy is made up of Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morningstar. It's basically the story of a corrupt, futuristic society. I mean, aren't they all? Where people are born into different colors, and the colors are arranged in a hierarchical pyramid. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. And the pyramid, it has the reds at the bottom and then the golds at the top. And we're basically following the story of Darrow, who is a red miner in the mines of Mars. That's his life. That's all he knows. He knows nothing about the world above him. He doesn't even know that, like, people have terraformed already. He doesn't know. He is under the belief that the reds are paving the way for everyone else. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. They've been there, done that. Been there, done that. And so he has no knowledge of that, and he's perfectly happy with that until one day his wife, that's right, his wife, he's 15, his wife, she sets off a chain of events that has him striving to break the chains. Red Rising, the first book, is that first story. It's the introductory story, as it always is in a first book in a trilogy. We're getting to know the characters, we're getting the backstory, and it's Darrow is a red and he's starting to infiltrate the Gold Society. It's kind of like if you took Game of Thrones meets Hunger Games with Ender's Game on Mars. It's a school that they're all put into and they're kind of fighting for their lives. So that's kind of the first one. Is school is like the Hunger Games in the medieval times, essentially. That's the first one. Golden Sun is past that, and I'm not gonna go into major things because I don't want to spoil you who have not. This is spoiler free, guys. We're spoiler free here. And Golden Sun basically picks up where Red Rising left off, and it kind of deals more with Darrow and his internal dilemmas and his own character flaws in a way, and kind of how he tends to treat the people around him and how some of that tends to backfire on him. So it's more about his growth as a leader and kind of realizing what that means. Whereas Morningstar is basically has Darrow fighting from the ashes of his mistakes to become a leader, and to become not only just a leader but a great leader. And there's quite a bit of a difference as you learn from Golden Sun to Morningstar. So that's the general idea of this story. It's sci-fi, it's adult, although in the first book Darrow is only 15, it is not YA. Let me just throw that out there now. If you're looking for YA sci-fi, this is not it. There are too many characters to go into depth on any of them, but Darrow is your main character, and I've already kind of talked about him, and he's kind of the one you need to know. It's his perspective, but there are loads of supporting characters, and that brings us to my likes of this series. The number one like, the thing that really has me going and coming back to the story over and over again, well, it will have me coming back to the story over and over again, is the characters. The characters are so rich and wonderful. There are so many really strong characters, and all of them are there for a purpose. None of them kind of blend in. The characters are what make Darrow Darrow, the characters surrounding him, and that's kind of a key message, especially in Morningstar, that he is who he is because of them. And so they are all very strong. I love all of them. Severo is one of the best characters I have ever read. I love him so much. They're rich, they're layered, they have flaws, they have growth. There's just so much going on with these characters that I love characters. Characters are kind of what bring me to a story anyway. It's why I love Harry Potter so much, and I think that just like in Harry Potter, how I would love like a spin-off with any of the characters, I would love a spin-off for any of the characters in Red Rising. I also love the world. I mean, it's futuristic, but it's in our solar system, so it's Mars and Jupiter and you know, the moon and whatnot, but it's very cool, the technology that they have, and just kind of the way everything is built together, and I just think it's really cool and layered and complex, and that to me makes up a really good, interesting world. Throughout the series of books, there's a constant raising of the stakes. It's not just kind of the same thing repeated, it's to a much bigger degree. The first one in Red Rising, we're focused on the school, the institute. The second one, we're kind of focusing on Mars itself and just kind of maybe the space outside of Mars. Whereas in Morningstar, we're going all the way from the moon, which is Luna, to the moons of Saturn. So quite a bigger depth of space here, and just the stakes are much higher. The first one, they're kids playing war, and in the last one, they're actually at war. So the stakes keep getting higher and higher and higher, and that's something to be appreciated. Speaking of war, it also shows the reality of war. If you think about all of the stories of the characters going off and fighting this rebellion, you never see the people that are left behind and what that does to them. You see it a teeny tiny bit maybe in the Hunger Games, but not really, not a lot, and this one definitely shows it. Darrow is constantly worried about what happens at the end of this. How do I fix this and make everybody still work and make everything work, and what about these people? And I think it's really brave of Pierce Brown to explore that. There's a complexity and intelligence to this series that you can't really find in a lot of other series that I've read, at least. It's mind games, a lot of it. It's you know, battle of the minds and thinking. I feel dumb when I'm reading it sometimes because there's no way that I would ever have thought of some of these things. It's just so great. It has really great influences in like Roman and Greek mythology and stories and plays and Shakespeare, and it's just, I mean, my hat is off to Pierce Brown for pulling all of that together. It's just very smart. And my last like is that it keeps me guessing. With the intelligence in the last one, it kind of goes with that. There's so many things that as I'm reading it, you always kind of, you know, come up with assumptions and beliefs and guesses. Half the time in this series, I was completely wrong, like dead wrong, way off, and I love that. I love that I'm constantly guessing and trying to figure out what's gonna happen next, and then I never figure it out. Like, that to me makes it a fun read. It makes it challenging, and I love that kind of challenge, that it's not predictable. It's not like, oh, well, this is gonna happen. I mean, some of it, you start to know the characters, you can pick up on little things, but for the most part, a lot of it was very surprising to me. On to my dislikes. In the beginning of the series especially, some of the female characters were there just as foils. However, I do want to say that towards the latter half of the series, some of those female characters have become a lot more developed and a lot richer and complex themselves, and especially you have characters that are very strong females that do not need men at all to help them out. This is something that doesn't bother me, but I see how it could bother other people, especially if you're thinking that it's YA, which again, it's not. And there is gratuitous violence at times. I mean, no one is safe, and there is lots of blood, like lots of blood, and detailed deaths. It's not always pretty. So if that's something that bothers you, keep that in mind, that this is not so lighthearted. There is dying, this is war, and it's not sugar-coated at all. I also really didn't care for Io, who is Darrow's wife. And again, the very beginning of the book, she dies. That's kind of what sets off the chain of events. It's not a spoiler, it says it on the back of the book, so don't worry. And everything happens because of that. And I don't like her. I don't really know her, but I don't like her. I feel like Darrow puts her on this pedestal continuously, and I feel like she didn't really deserve it. And then the last thing is, sometimes it is kind of hard to picture. It's space battles. If that's not your thing, some of the scenes can be kind of tough to process, especially Golden Sun. Golden Sun was the hardest of the three for me to read because it is a lot more space battle than the other ones. Being said, all of these dislikes are still like addressed, and they're totally okay with me, and I still they don't bother me at all. These, I had to come up with some dislikes though, because that's the format and I feel like not everything is perfect, but I still really love it. So I give this series a total of 5 out of 5 stars. The first, Red Rising, was 5. Golden Sun was more of a 4 for me. Morning Star was definitely a 5, so I'm just gonna average it out as a 5, even though it's like a 4.8 or something. I'm not good at math. Anyway, so I'm reading the whole series as a whole. For me, it's a 5-star read. The books that it's similar to that you may like, or if you like those, you may like this. The Hunger Games trilogy, because of the teenagers fighting to the death against others in a different type of setting, but still. Game of Thrones, because they're all split into houses in the first one, and they're all battling each other in a medieval type situation, which is pretty much Game of Thrones. They're all fighting to be the king. There you go. Star Wars, which is more of a movie series. There are books though, but I haven't read them. But anyway, Star Wars, because it's a space opera. Julius Caesar. That's right, I'm throwing it in there. Throwing it back, way back, to some Shakespeare. And that's because there are a lot of Roman influences, and there's a lot of betrayal, and backstabbing, and ruthlessness, and yeah, it's poetic. I haven't read it, but Pierce Brown also says that Dune was one of his influences, also because of the houses situation, but I haven't read Dune, so I don't know that for sure. But I'm just gonna throw it out there, because it is supposed to be a sci-fi great, and I do need to read it, so let me know how it is. And finally, I'm gonna say it's similar to Ender's Game, because it's space battles. Space battles. With intelligent people that are way more intelligent than I am. And I'm okay with that. Well, that is the Red Rising trilogy in a nutshell. Let me know what you think, what you thought about it, if you've read it. Like, we can gush about it. Expect some other Morningstar / Red Rising videos coming out in the next couple days or so, because I have like 4 planned, including this one. So it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit, but you know, there you go. So if I haven't convinced you yet to read Red Rising, oh, just wait. Oh, just wait, it's coming. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed it, and let me know down in the comments what you thought, what you think. Let's chat, and that's it for me today. I'll see you next time.